Greetings, everyone. Tim Anderson here, aka Renfell, and welcome to the latest Monday Musings, which sounded really weird. This is the show where I talk about. Is it a show? It's not a show. It's my vlog, um, where I talk about all the random things that are going on in my life, what I'm working on, what I'm watching, what I'm reading, what I'm doing, things that are not necessarily related to gaming. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. So the big thing this past week was my wife and I finally got our first round COVID shots. We've been waiting for that for a while here in Mexico City, and our time was finally up. Um, about a month behind schedule, but that's not as bad as I anticipated it being. And it was really, it was very well done. Um, we got there was social media updates from the city government on like Wednesday of the previous week saying, hey, if you live in these three districts or uh, neighborhoods, and you're in this age bracket, which is the 40 to 50-year-old age bracket, then you're going to be at one of these two places on Tuesday, which was this last Tuesday. Um, and then on Sunday night, we got text messages and confirmed our um, dates and everything else and locations. And we got really lucky because it's based on your last name. And my last name's Anderson. My wife's last name is Barrios, and we don't share the same last name. So we got lucky though because since we were both in the same alphabetic bracket, they did on Tuesday was the A, B's, and C's. So we got to go in together because we're in the same age bracket. We obviously live together and same name brackets. So that was cool because I know a lot of couples have had to spread their vaccinations out. So that was kind of nice to be able to get them done the same day. So that was Tuesday morning. We went in. It was a pretty cool experience because um, it was very streamlined. Like we showed up at like 8. I mean, her appointment was at 9. Mine was supposed to be at 2, but I went with her. I was like, let's just see if I can go in and just get my shot in the morning anyway, even though my appointment's at 2. And we showed up. It was like 8:30 when we got there, and I mean, the staff were all like out front of the hospital, like waving flags and cheering people on. I was like, you're running a marathon. It was actually a lot of fun. They didn't even question it. It was just, oh, you're in that age bracket, you're in that name bracket, you're two together, go on in. And we went in, sat down in a um, I can't remember the name for it, in like an audience hall, um, and like a lecture hall is what it was, and sat down. They some ladies came in, confirmed our data, and in about 10 minutes, maybe it might not have even been 10 minutes later, they filed us all out and got us out, sat us down, gave us our shots, and then we sat down for the 30-minute post-op, which was fun because they actually brought in like a whole group of like disco dancers and like taking people's minds off things so that people aren't stressed during the 30-minute wait. So there was people doing, dance and disco, and then they had some kids doing soccer tricks, football tricks. So it was a fun, thing. I mean, we were in and out in like an hour. I don't even know if we were there for an hour. It was just that quick. So it was really cool. It was like the fastest thing I've ever done in terms of an official, like, go do something. There wasn't a lot of paperwork because it's already, you do it all online and beforehand. So it was very streamlined and very, very, very well done. And kudos to the staff for their hard work and helping with that stuff. But Chris did not have any side effects really, other than I think on Thursday she had some stomach issues and for a few hours, but that was it. I got hit hard by 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Tuesday. I had 100 fever, and then by 9 o'clock I was up to 102 and just nonstop shivers and shakes. And yeah, it was not fun. I had a fever from about 4 in the afternoon until about 12:30 at night. 12:30 in the middle of the night, and then my fever finally broke. But then I had like the worst back pain and joint aches and headache, and I couldn't sleep all night Tuesday night. Finally got about 2 hours of sleep from about 5:30 to 7:30 in the morning, and then I woke up and had like just worst like pain behind my eyeballs that just lasted all day. Um, and then today is I'm recording this on Sunday, which is the 27th, even though this is airing on the 28th. I mean, as of today, I feel fine. I've got a little bit of soreness in my arm, but it was basically 2 days, and I was back to normal. We were back doing our running and everything else on Thursday or Friday, excuse me. We didn't run Wednesday or Thursday, um, but Friday we did. Friday and Saturday and Sunday. Um, so yeah, first round vaccination, which I've talked about on the show. We're waiting and waiting and waiting. It's not a show. I keep calling it a show. I've talked about it here on this vlog before, how we were eagerly waiting our first round vax. So we got those. I'm really happy to have gotten my first round shots. So we got AstraZeneca, which I think we have to wait. I don't know. The official stuff on the internet says wait, between 8 and 12 weeks for the second one, but they told us on the way out they were like between 29 and 40 days. So it was like I guess we'll hear back soon. So sometime in the next couple of months we'll be getting our next month or two we'll get our follow up, and then we will be street legal, as my boss says for my day job. Street legal. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to completely being vaccinated because Chris and I are already looking at doing some travel in October-ish. The travel conference that we were hoping to attend this year in Italy has been postponed again, so that's not even going to happen this year. Um, but they are already confirmed for March 14th, 15th, I think, of next year in, is it Marbella, Spain? It's in Andalusia. It's on the coast. So we're probably going to go to Spain next summer for a few months. Um, but we'll wait and see. We got to wait and just figure out how all the timing works and all that other stuff because we have other things that we want to do. And if we go to Spain, whether or not we go to Spain depends entirely on if we go as speakers to the event or not. Because otherwise, I don't think we'll go. Because we have something else that we want to do next year, which is I think Chris and I are going to do a 2 to 3 month van trip up in the U.S. I think we're going to go to Colorado and just spend 2 or 3 months in the mountains in a van. Now, this is it's a business deal, is what it is, but um, I believe what we're going to do, and we're still working on all the details, but either Chris and I are doing it or I'm doing it. Chris and I are doing it with my brother and his wife in terms of the business venture. But the idea is we're going to buy a van this winter or early spring. As soon as we find, we've been shopping for the last 2 months, just keeping our eye on things. So if something comes up this fall, this winter, we'll buy the van. And then next April, probably next March or April, we will fly up to the States and then we're anticipating anywhere from 30 to 45 days to remodel a van and do a conversion on it, do the van life thing. Buy a van, convert the van, road trip for 2 to 3 months. Do all the things we normally do when we're on a big tour like that, which is where we go and we take, 10, 15,000 photos and a bunch of video footage with the drone and everything else. And then we're going to turn around and sell the van. And so the idea is it's a, call it a little side hustle that we're going to do next year. That's the plan anyway. Something that'll keep us occupied for a good 4 to 6 months in between the buying, conversion, road trip, and then the selling. And we're going to document the entire process on TikTok and YouTube, and then sell the van. So that's our primary goal for next year. And if Spain aligns in there somewhere with a business trip to go speak at a conference and go work with the people in Spain again, then we will do so. But that's kind of looking like what next year is going to shape up to be in terms of our side hustle thing. And then, of course, we have all this crazy stuff that we're doing with Project Drummond, which we'll talk about later on in the video. Um, but yeah, big thing was we got vaccinated finally, first round shots anyway. What's next? Oh, we are training for a 5K run, which up until about when was Christina's surgery? 2014, early 2014. I think it was March. I used to run 3 miles every day, And then after her surgery, because she used to run with me, after the surgery, it just took the wind out of our sails because it happened. The rupture happened internally when we were jogging, and so she never wanted to jog after that. It took her a long, long time to want to run. I mean, years, because it was just such a traumatic experience. And as a result, I didn't want to go run by myself either. So I gave up running, and we decided to get back into it when we moved here to the city, but only casually, and not the first year we were here. But 2018 was the first year we were here. 2019, we got back into running a little bit. And then COVID, and so we were all paranoid about COVID, so we didn't do much through 2020. But then once we saw things going back to normal and everything else, we started running again, um, beginning of this year, basically. And we've been running casually, like building up to like a mile and a half, mile and a half, 4 times a week, basically. And we've done that for months, and that's just always been our routine. It's a very casual, when we feel like it, but we do regularly go out 3 to 4 times a week. We'll go for a run. But then about 2 months ago, we decided that we were just going to start taking it more seriously and try to get in better shape after a year of quarantine and everything else. And then we just both decided, it was like, well, why don't we start training for a five? We've never trained for anything. Why don't we do a 5K? Now we're both 40. I'm 41, she's 40. Um, she's kicking my ass in the runs. Like we're on, what is today? Today's Sunday. So on today was sprints. Yesterday was our long distance run, and yesterday was a increase day. So yesterday we increased to I went up to 3K, so I did 3 kilometers, and then she just had enough energy. She kept going and did 3.5. So she's already smoking my ass, but she also didn't. I had congestive lung failure when I was 22, so I'm always going to have that residual. I have to struggle a little bit more than she will to get to that level. Plus, I'm about 40 pounds heavier than her, so I have all my excuses why I'm not up to it. But it's funny because when we started running, she was way behind me in terms of endurance and everything else. And after 2 months, she kicks my ass and has more energy than me on the long runs. Sprints, I do better than her, but long distance, she kicks my ass. So it's been fun, and we're about 2 months into that. We're doing it very casually. A lot of the training programs that you use online, everything else, it'll be like, oh, you should be able to go from a mile a day to running a 5K in 2 months, in 8 weeks. And they always have these training programs. We didn't actually start following a training program until 2 weeks ago. Um, the first 6 weeks was just us, just every week, just increasing how many rotations we did, increasing the amount of the number of sprints we did, and just naturally progressing that way. We weren't doing it, by a strict standard, which I think is like a quarter mile every week, increasing your distance. So we started that 2 weeks ago, and so yeah, every Saturday is our long distance day, and those are the days that we increase. So this Saturday, a couple days ago, we went up to 3K, and then next week we'll be increasing to, I think, what, 3.5. And then the week after that will be 4, and then the week after that's 4.5, and the week after that is 5. So hopefully by the end of, that's what we have. We got 3, 3, 5, 4, 4, 4. By the end of July, the idea is by the end of July we should be able to run a 5K. Now, whether or not I run a 5K without any breaks is another that's another question entirely. But getting back into shape slowly but surely, um, in terms of running. So that's the other thing we're doing right now. Um, and it's good weather to do it because the hot months here are April and May, and we're already getting into. It's already cooled down quite a bit. I haven't had to run the fan in like a month. And it's been sweaters and sweatpants in the mornings, so it's nice to go out. Like today, we went for sprints at the park, and it was just a nice drizzle all morning, like 60, maybe 65 degrees. Um, we went at like 9 o'clock in the morning. It was a nice Sunday morning run. Um, so, dun, 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 about 15 minutes in. What can we talk about? I finally finished season 5 of The Expanse today, actually, as I'm recording this. It took me forever. This last episode, actually, I sat on it for like 3 weeks. Um, it was good, but I've just got so many other things going on, and it just didn't. It wasn't as it wasn't like the first couple of seasons where I binged watched the whole thing. I did wait until the entire fifth season was available before I got my hands on it, so that I could binge watch it, and then I didn't. I ended up watching like 3 episodes, took a few weeks off, watched another 3 episodes, took a few weeks off, watched another 3 weeks episode, 3 episodes, and then took a few weeks off, and then finally watched the last episode today. Um, I know why they killed off the well before I get to that. Spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, which everybody should by this point, but if you haven't, spoiler alert. I know why they killed off Alex's character because the actor came under fire for sexual harassment, and just that was the decision the creative team made was that they're just going to kill his character off. But it was definitely done in such a way that it was just like it just happened towards the end of the episode, and it was a very realistic reason why his character was killed off, but it was also even if I didn't know about the sexual harassment stuff, I would have suspected like what happened there. Like the character just all of a sudden got offed. Like that doesn't make any sense, and I would have gone and researched it. Um, Amos's character, I think, had the best arc this season, because he's finding his humanity for the first time in a very long time, and rescuing Peaches and um, going back to his hometown and going through that trauma again, reliving that. Um, I thought it was a really killer arc, and the guy who portrays Amos's character, which it sucks that I don't know his name. Um, I've seen him in several movies, but primarily I know him from The Expanse. Uh, really good job all around. So I'm not going to review the show per se. I mean, The Expanse is amazing. You should watch it because if you like good science fiction, but it was good. Katla, on the other hand, I do want to talk about. I thought I was going to do a whole, like an individual episode to review the show. I'm not going to do that. Um, my wife and I watched Katla earlier this week while I was having a fever, actually. That was our binge watch for Tuesday and Wednesday. Um, yeah, it's on Netflix. That was a Icelandic show that blends science fiction and speculative fiction. And it is don't it was good, don't get me wrong. It was good. The science fiction doesn't really hit until the seventh episode. Like the next to the penultimate episode is when the science fiction kicks in. Up until that point, it's just a speculative fiction. Like weird stuff is happening, and it's like, well, why is it happening? And then you find out why, and it's like, oh, okay. Um, and they did kind of leave it open ended, so maybe they're gonna do a second season if it gets renewed. But I don't know what they could do with the second season because it makes sense the way they did it in season one. So, spoiler alert, before I talk about the show Catla, just so that you're aware, this is the spoiler alert section. Um, the show is about the people who live in this small town under the volcano Catla, and it erupted like a year ago, and pretty much everyone left. There's only a handful of people that still remain. And what happens is um, copies of people start showing up, and um, it's the first one that shows up is well, there's various. There's some of the people who show up um, have been dead, and suddenly they're showing up again. Um, and then there's other people who are still alive and copies of themselves are showing up, but it's copies from other points in time. Like one of the major characters is a woman from Sweden who is still alive. 20 years ago, she was in this town, and this version of her from 20 years ago crops up. So there's a 20-year-old version of her and a well, like a 25-year-old version of her, and then like a mid 50 or mid 40s version of her, or something like that. So it's a weird thing. And then there's, a kid who's been dead, and he shows up, but he shows up like younger, like the dad who's there, he's been dead for 3 years, and the kid shows up and he's like he was 3 years ago. Um, so it takes a long time to figure out why they're coming back. Um, it's it is not a fast-paced show. If you need something that has action and fast-moving pieces, this is going to be boring as fuck. Because it is very slow. It's very it's just not fast paced. It's a very slow show. It is very narrative based, but it's also visual in the sense that you're very much getting the sense of the apocalyptic nature of the world that they live in, where everyone has to wear masks, not because of a pandemic, but because of the fact that they live within an active volcano that's continually spewing forth ash, and there's ash storms that happen, and there's the things they have to live with, like the fact that like the dairy cows that they have to have their hay imported from off the island, because if they eat anything from the island they'll get contaminated, and then they can't drink the milk. And so it's just this it it does a very good show excuse me, it does a very good job of portraying the daily struggle of these people, um, to live in the shadow of this, actively spewing ash volcano. And then by the time you get to the seventh episode is when uh, they realize that the copies are. The theory is that one of the geologists, goes down into these caverns and he finds bodies down there that are like in hibernation, and they're moving a little bit when he gets close to them, and he takes a bunch of samples and comes to realize that it's not of this world. So the theory is that millennia ago a meteorite hit and went deep down in the earth and caused the volcano to actually form around the crater. And the penetration of the earth at that point, and all the magma came up around the meteorite, and so every time this thing erupts, there's ash that goes into the air that's contaminated from the meteorite, um, and or meteor. What's the difference between a meteorite and a meteor? I don't even know. Anyway, and the ash then covers everybody, and it can bring people's. Basically, it's this weird theory of that it brings back people who need to be brought back because someone has some sort of mental trauma that they're going through, and so it brings a copy back to help them deal with their trauma. It's a weird. I don't know. There was some weirdness to it. It also ties into like Icelandic folklore of these changeling creatures that appear every couple hundred years, and this is why it's like anytime there's a major eruption, the changelings appear, but they're not the same as the ones who are real, because they seem to be lacking empathy and other things. So it's a weird, you know, there is some suspense, but not really until the later episodes. It's just mostly a kind of a relaxed kind of folklore, science fiction, speculative fiction type show. Um, it takes a long time to get to the point, but I thought it was fun, and we did enjoy it. Right now we're watching. I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation of this probably. I think it's called Lupin, but in English it's written Lupin. But it's about I guess that character is a like the French version of Sherlock Holmes, except he's also a thief. He's not really a detective. He's just this really cool mastermind thief. And it's about this guy who's obsessed with this fictional character and is trying to um, clear his father's name for a crime that his father didn't commit 25 years ago, and he does so living the life of a master thief and gentleman. And it's a quirky, fun French show that we're watching. We binged it yesterday. We watched 8 of the 10 episodes, so we're gonna finish that up today. Um, so yeah, those are the two shows we're watching. I've been up since 2 o'clock in the morning. My sleep schedule's all screwed up because of the fever on Tuesday night, and I've been uh, like the other day I slept like 9 hours, 10 hours at night, excuse me. And then the next night I slept 9 hours, and then had like a 3 hour nap. And so last night I woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning, so I'm a little yawny right now. Probably take a nap after I record this episode. Project Drammond stuff. If you're on Discord and you're in the Project Drammond channel, then you've seen, excuse me, some of the stuff we've been doing. Chris just finished up the latest piece. My brother we published the Sunday update for the adventure game. I'm working on district maps for the cities. And then I think, fingers crossed, going to depend a little bit on things, but I think through the month of July, I'm going to go ahead and get the prologue to the book written because I want that to be a precursor um, to the playtest. So we also announced via the newsletter that the first playtest session is tentatively happening on August 4th. Double check my calendar. Excuse me. Wednesday, August 4th is the tentative goal for that. Um, and I'd like to have a little bit to go along with that. So I'm gonna see if I can't get that written over the next couple of weeks, so that I have something ready to go live like a week before the playtest, so that people have a chance to read through something and kind of get in the mood. But we'll see. It's not high on my list of priorities. The maps are the primary priority, but we'll see what we get to this month. If I don't get it done, it's not going to be that big of a deal. It'll happen next month, but we'll see if I can't get it done this month as well. So yeah, we made that announcement, and then internally working towards some deadlines. We've shifted some goalposts a little bit, um, which we can do because we're not taking money from everybody, so nobody can whine and complain. Um, but we've moved things around a little bit because my brother had stuff to do with his kids. So we had t-ball and everything else. So we're a little behind what we thought we were going to have the adventure game up demo ready for. We're hoping by the July 1st. It's not going to happen. Um, it's more likely going to be August 1st. We might be able to do it before August 1st, but we just pushed it back a month and said, let's get past t-ball season and all this other stuff, and then kids will be back in school in August. So he'll start to have a little bit more time in August. And we've already talked about this winter might be the first winter in a long time that we might not play a lot of games this winter. Because usually we play Lord of the Rings Online or Star Wars: The Republic together. And we usually do 2 or 3 nights a week of that during the winter months. We might not do that this year because we're trying to get this product done. We're trying to get all these products done by the end of the year, which is hefty. Doable, but hefty. I can get all mine done. But the world, just the building of the game takes more time. So he's gonna see what he can get done. So, but we are on track for playtesting, and we're gonna start to do. I think this week coming up. If I don't do it this week coming up, it'll be the week following. But I anticipate it'll probably be this week coming up. This week that we're in. I'm looking at the calendar wrong. Um, I'm going to be doing a video update on it, and then we're going to be doing an open call for playtesters. So stick around for that, and we'll be doing positions will go to newsletter subscribers first. So if you haven't signed up to the newsletter yet, make sure you do so. Check the Discord for the links. They are everyone's tagged in them. You can find them in the general channel, and we look forward to getting people in. In any case, I think that's a wrap. I'm tired. I'm gonna go take a nap. Um, Hopefully, you all enjoyed this week's update. Don't forget to tune in later today to the next Mondays in MMORPG episode. We're back again with Scribbles and Ashen Phoenix, and we are talking about. I'm gonna double check this because last time I said this is what we're talking about today, I got it wrong. I'm gonna double check tomorrow's episode. Evolving game standards is what we're talking about later today. We're talking about things like how UI used to be really basic and simple, and how today UI is much more expansive, and how no one wants to go back to death runs and corpse runs and just the evolving standards of games over the years. So hopefully you enjoy that episode. Until next week, stay safe.